Been a member of the Parliament Square Peace Campaign since 2003. I went to a protest at Belmarsh Prison, that I think just before then, and I met somebody who, brought me up here one day on a cycle thing. So I met Brian, and basically I belong to a youth organisation. So when I saw that Brian was talking about the children and in Iraq suffering from the effects of depleted uranium and its deformities, I immediately thought about Vietnam and Agent Orange and all of that. And my parents were involved with medical aid in Vietnam and COD and all of those things. So to me it just seemed like a natural connection that I had with Brian. And I've stayed with the campaign ever since then. I've been ill and other things which have kept me away, but I've continued to support the campaign exactly, the same principles, the same values as I had in 2003. Nothing has changed in my beliefs. So we're here today talking about Barbara Tucker, Babs as we know her. She was a mum from Australia, and she came here in 2006. I think she'd worked in a childcare centre or something of that idea. She saw Brian and thought, what the hell? I'll try and do the accent. Couldn't believe that this guy's standing outside Parliament and everything. And so she joined him. So she didn't have experience of political campaigns or anything like that. But of course, as time has gone on, she's learned a hell of a lot. She's seen so many protests and demonstrations here, everything from the Gurkhas to the pensioners to the fox hunters to everything. Everything goes on here, including the Lord Mayor's parade and whatever. This campaign has been here through the Olympics. It's been here through the Jubilee. And we get absolutely no publicity at all from the BBC. In fact, the BBC do everything they can not to show us at all, and other news networks.
And why do you think that is?
Because it's too challenging for them, because a lot of the things, okay, this campaign is about reminding everybody about war in Iraq and Afghanistan. It's reminding everybody about the death toll and all of those things. It's reminding everybody of who's responsible for that, Bush and Blair and all the others that are involved in it. But it's also, we're also saying that we want a different kind of system. Democracy, that's what we want. We want a real democracy. So the campaign isn't just about, war and peace, if you like. It's also about a better future for everybody, a fairer future where the people have a say in what goes on, and also about the money that the government has and how they spend our money. I certainly, if I'd have been given a choice to say, do you want your money to go to war, I obviously would have said no. And I think a lot of people, most people in this country would have said no too. And then there would have been no war, because they wouldn't have had the money, or they'd had to steal it off us in some other way. So this campaign needs a lot more, and it also, it's a great venue for everybody, the visitors that we have here, the tourists and everything, they come over here. It's an international campaign. We get, obviously through the website, but not so much, but just people coming by, talking about peace, talking about life, all of those things, friendship, all the things that are valuable to us, to say that, we're good people, and, this is all we want, is to have a safe and a safe and just world. Is that too much to ask, kind of thing. So anyway, alongside all that, we've had to survive. Well, Barbara's been here 6 years, and she has been here like Brian was, sleeping here and everything. And since Brian died last year, or effectively was murdered ultimately, really, through the police brutality, through people coming by, kicking him in the night, all of this stuff. You know, since he died and the police, you know, stole all of the banners and everything, you know, Barbara took over the campaign. Brian asked Barbara to take over the campaign because she was with him when he died in Germany, because they wouldn't operate on him at St Thomas's Hospital in this country. They changed consultants or something, you know, it's all very dodgy. But anyway, so basically now Barbara's been on hunger strike for 30 days, and the reason for that is because they will not let her have a tent on the grass. So we've been surviving under umbrellas, golf umbrellas. The police have come and stolen the blankets off us when we've been sitting there at 2 o'clock in the morning. You know, they've stolen everything. And then Barbara goes to, you know, takes out things through the court with them and everything. She's been to court so many times. Then they have to bring the stuff back because they know it's not legal.
And then so as a sustained tactic, like the other day at the Battersea Adventure Park playground, they prevented even residents and locals and the ones with against cuts from bringing food to the protesters. And they had we managed to get one kind of like parcel of food to them, which was some biscuits and some bacon butties. But apart from that, like for two and a bit days, they had nothing in terms of food. What would you say the tactic and the rationale is behind the decisions, and who is actually making the decisions? Who's giving the orders?
Well, this is a big question, but of course, you know, this piece of land, the jurisdiction is Boris Johnson and Westminster City Council. They're the ones, they have wardens here, they call them heritage wardens, but we know they're not, because they've got security cards and everything, so they're security basically, and they do not want anybody on this grass, not just us, I mean anybody. But of course during the Olympics they had to let people on the grass because they had some kind of pseudo, you know, flags and everything up, so they couldn't not have any, you know, people here. But they were still spying on people, the tourists and everything. Anybody that comes along, group of students, you know, a couple of cameras, you know, they're after them and all that. So we're police, you know, we're policing it, but we're, you know, we're having to protect all that as well. And, you know, that's what we're doing here as well. We're keeping the peace here in Westminster, and we're like protecting the whole of this area for the people, you know, to make them feel safe, you know.
I mean, that's one thing which you say, like, so like in your time that you've been here, what would you say the flow, the difference of tactics, and you know, the variations in tactics, because really what we're up against is attrition, isn't it? It's a battle of will.
Yeah, it's basically the law, because they keep making laws to say, you know, you can't have an umbrella. You know, we've had to go to court. You know, we've had to go to court about having an umbrella. We've had to go to court about having blankets and chairs and all this nonsense. This is what they do. But the other thing they've done to stop people from being here is there's no toilets for women. I mean, okay, men need toilets too, but men, you know, but for women, you know, the toilets, they don't belong to Westminster, to the station. If they belong to the station, they'd be open till 11 o'clock at night. They're not. They're only open till 8 o'clock because it's a private company. There's only one pub, which are very hostile and whatever. So, you know, this is the biggest thing that we face here, is actually just going to the toilet. Food is not a problem. People bring food. There's shops around. We're in the heart of London. That is not a problem. Drink is not a problem. You know, we can get a cup of tea, no problem. You know, there's cafes around and everything, but not at night time. We can always find something somewhere, but it's the toilet thing, and it's you know, it's deliberate. It's deliberate.
I mean, like I said, like I'll just refer back to the Adventure Playground.
Yeah.
If we left the vicinity of where we were to go use the public toilets, which were on the other side of the fence, they weren't going to allow us back in.
No.
So then they evoke disgust. You know, it's like we've forgotten that everyone on poos and wees.
It's about dignity, isn't it? They reduce your dignity, and that is the whole thing about poverty, impoverishing people by taking away their benefits and by taking away their, by lowering their wages, by belittling people. I mean, who does that remind you of? You know, that's what they're trying to do. They're going to belittle the whole population, so none of us have got any power. The working class or whatever have got no power to do anything because they've got no money to do anything. Everyone's terrified to do anything. What kind of a society is that? It's supposed to be in Europe. What happened to human rights? Don't we have any human rights in this country anymore?
Well, they say in court, don't they? They say in court, it's qualified rights. They're not absolute rights. It's qualified rights, and it's so property is absolute, and actually the human life, the sanctity of human life, is qualified, isn't it?
You know, poverty. You know, poverty is not the fault of the poor. Poverty is the fault of the rich. And the thing is about the rich is it's families, isn't it? It's certain families in there, in the House of Commons, the House of Lords. There are all these different families. Why are their families any better than our families? Our families would be a lot better than theirs if we had the money. That's why they don't want us having the money. Yeah? I've got a good name.
Social networks, isn't it? It's the social networks that grow over time.
They want to, you know, basically close it down so that the world is controlled by a few families, which it probably is anyway, but I don't know too much about that. You know, and this is what we're doing. You know, being working class, it's not something that you're, you know, that's in your genes. You know, you were born to be working class. That's a load of nonsense, just like they weren't born to be rich. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, it really annoys me. It really pisses me off. It really gets on my nerves. It's like, who do these people think they are? How dare they? It's so insulting. It is so insulting.
And so, what do you think the people of this land need to do? What would you say is a process that needs to take place and take root?
Enlightenment, definitely. Awareness, information, and courage. You know, a lot of people, you know, like I say, a lot of people are very frightened. You know, it must be a lot of old people are absolutely bloody terrified. They went through the Second fucking World War. You know, can't those people be allowed to die in peace, having gone through the Second World War? You know, that is just so obscenely, that's insulting as well, isn't it? There's no respect. There's no respect for what people have done in their lives.
There's something about sacredness, isn't it? There is a sanctity to life, and there is a joy and well, a whole plethora of experiences and emotions that come with it. So it's just kind of like, you know, like I can't help but well up with tears over this Adventure Playground because that place was a church for children. You know what I mean? That place was sacred. It was where anybody could go, regardless of their perceived ability. It wasn't about. It was about acceptance. You know, and it practiced what is preached.
But
you know,
they don't want children to have freedom. They don't want children to play. They don't want children to have friends. They don't want children to know things about the world or have information or anything like that because they're terrified of them. Why be terrified of them? If you treat people nice, yeah, if you treat people good, then they treat you good. If you treat them like shit, like they treat us like shit, I'm going to treat them like shit too. I mean, you just, you know, an eye for an eye and all that. I'm not a violent person. I've never been a violent person. I don't need to be a violent person. Take a look at me. What do I need to be a violent person? I don't. You know, why do they need to be violent? That's the question I would love to find out. Why do they need to be violent? Why do they need to be abusive towards children, towards old people, disabled people? What is in their psyche that makes them like that?
And along those lines, what do you think about the people who were declared fit for work and taking off disability allowance?
Yeah.
I mean, this was
murder. It's effectively murder. Murder. It's all murder. I mean, they just love murdering people, don't they? Tried to kill Barbara so many times. They killed Brian. You know, they've killed a load of. They're just killing people. What for? It's just so pointless and meaningless. It's like, how could you do that to a disabled person? You know, when you're disabled, life is difficult enough as it is. You know, you shouldn't have to. You know, you shouldn't have to be forced. What work, you know, they're going to go into work. Well, if you're going to go into work when you've been disabled, you're going to need independent living skills, and you're going to need job training, and you're probably going to need a care assistant with you to take you there to make sure that you can get through the day, to go to the toilet if you need to go to the toilet. All of these things. I was doing this 20 years ago. I used to work in a day centre in Westminster for disabled people. We did wonderful things. We went on holidays, we were doing art and music and sport and all this stuff. And then they closed it down, and now it's like a flipping, you know, coffee morning with a few videos. Hello, that is not what we changed the government for in 1997. I'm sorry, that is sick. It is sick. It really, really is. And it really just goes against the grain. And, you know, that's why we're here. That is why we're here. So, you know, Barbara, I think, is now, you know, she's started eating again a little bit. Because she's not going to let them kill her. No way. We can't let that happen, because that means they've won. Yet again, you know, we're not going to give up. You know, we're not a big team of people. We're only a small team of people. But you know, we keep it going. We'd like to have a lot more people, you know, to help us out, so then we can go on holiday somewhere. That would be nice.
but what would you say? What would you say actually the impact of this has been? Because I know in 2003, when I was 18 years old, I went on the Iraq War March, and I came past it, and I learnt about depleted uranium, and of course, you know, I've been brought up to be a compassionate, life is sacred person. And learning about that, and then going on the premise of weapons of mass destruction, where weapons of mass destruction of economic, of depleted uranium, of even cluster bombs, pollution, and all of these things.
What's happened to all our environmentalism? What's happened to all our, you know, greenness, our sustainability for the future, new energies, you know, all of this stuff? That's all gone by the wayside, hasn't it? You know, it's deliberate. It was deliberate. That's why they did it, to take our minds off. You know, it's a distraction. War is a distraction, you know, to take our minds off the real deal, yeah? So that we can survive. They don't want us to survive. All they want is their little people, their little yes people, who work in the little factories, work in the little shops, give them all their money, and then they kick them in the teeth and say, thank you very much, goodbye. You know, and that's it. This is what they're like. And you just said it, because you said you were brought up as a compassionate person. They are obviously not brought up as compassionate people, yeah? Because they're brought up, you know, well, I mean, okay, not all of them in the government, I'm not saying that, but enough of them are brought up in that way. They've been to public school, You know, they go to the nursery, the private nursery, they get told they're going to be Prime Minister one day, they get told they're going to be this one day, you know, they're going to have, you know, whatever, they're going to live in this, you know, it's all planned out for all of them. You know, and then they go to Eton, Oxford, Cambridge, all this shite, you know, well, it's not shite, obviously, but, you know, but you see, times are changing, and a new generation of people. This is why they took the This is why they didn't let students have their grants, because if the students had their grants, they could actually study without worrying about money and learn something and read. Yes, that's why they did it. That's why they did it. Because they don't want any competition. But there's 70 million of us in this country.
So how do we provide that competition? What actually are the physical actions that people need to start to take? I mean, like in terms on the grander scale, in an imaginary world where everyone agrees that we are going to do something, what would that be?
We need everybody to come here and sit down in front of Parliament, stop, you know, like on one day, not even one day, we just sit down until they give in, basically. And yeah, okay, they got guns and all the rest of it, but, you know, and also we need to get the police to stop, you know,
bullying tactics.
Well, no, it's not so much that, but we need to get the police to realise that they are working for these people and they should be protecting us. That's what a job of the police is, to protect the public, not to protect the government.
It's the Queen's peace. I asked a police officer the other day. I asked like, so what is your role here? You're stopping people from getting food. You're stopping people from eating.
Yeah.
What is your role here? Because I was trying to allay to him that actually you do have a responsibility, and you're not some kind of impartial arbitrator. You know what I mean? The law isn't God. If it goes against conscience. You know, and so it's kind of like, so what? And he went, and well, one of them kind of gave an answer, and then the other guy who was driving went, the Queen's peace. So let's have a look at talk about the Queen's peace. What is the Queen's peace? Let's.
Well, the Queen lets us walk on her land.
But I'm talking about the Queen's peace. I mean, she's one of the biggest landowners in the world.
But she
Canada.
lets us. The Queen lets us walk on her land. Boris doesn't let us walk on her land.
But isn't the hierarchy of the system? Don't they all have to ratify each other and agree on actions to take place?
Well, the Queen tried to lay claim to this land.
What, talking about the
square?
Yeah. What?
It didn't happen. Brian tried to lay claim. Well, he didn't go through with it, but he could have laid claim to that land. Yeah. You know, but somebody needs to go into the law about this land. You know, this land is my land. This land is your land. Yeah? You see where I'm coming from? It's about the land, isn't it? No, they don't want us on their land. Their land is, you know, they think that the land is theirs.
So ultimately we're talking about space. Let's talk about...
Absolutely, yeah. It's about, you know, territory, isn't it? It's territorial, it's, you know, it's like a child, you know, that doesn't want to give away its toys, it doesn't want to share its toys. That's what they're like. They haven't grown up. They're not grown-up people. They've got no maturity at all. You know, they're emotionally not grown up. That's what they're like, because they have got no emotional maturity, because they've been groomed their whole lives. So they're not free. They're not free themselves, you see. Are they? Do you think? They're not free people, are they? They're in a gated community.
I would say, yeah. I mean, I would say
I'm not talking about the local MPs. I'm not talking about the MPs that are in our local areas. Most of us, you know, a lot of us know who they are. I'm not talking about this, because this goes so much higher.
Oh, absolutely.
And I
mean,
don't know where it goes.
oh, it goes to the finance sector. You know. I mean, these are all control mechanisms. These are distributory systems, and so you got your gatekeepers along the line. That's why landlords are called lords.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. That's why you have to pay your lawyer thousands of quid for an hour of their time because it's a language.
Yeah. It's almost like going back to feudal times, isn't it? That's what they're trying to almost do.
I would say Victorian. I say Victorian workers model. That's what they're going back to because they want to compete with the other economies.
Yeah. That's what Thatcher wanted. You know, Victorian. And it's like, you know, the thing is, we have to. Every time they do this to us, it's like, you know, they shouldn't have learned by now. It's like, you know, I'm sorry, but this is not. You're not having it.
It's because in their heads they're the only people that do things of immense significance and importance. So there's a superiority thing.
It is about superiority, and that's the thing. We have to bring them down. Time after time after time, we keep giving individual leaders just way too much power. Why do we keep doing that? Are we crazy? We are crazy. We are crazy. Why do that? Why did we allow Blair to have all that power? You know, somebody should have taken him down years ago.
I think like
he should have been locked up years ago.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
I mean,
Blair.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's getting. He works for Goldman Sachs now.
Well,
he does some things like he's networking people together, getting paid hundreds of thousands of pounds in a week. You know, I mean, he's in a sense he's living a life there, but he can't.
He's not a free man anymore, is he?
No.
Can't go anywhere.
Well, I mean, you know, if I give the order, pay someone to kill someone, and they kill someone else by accident or on purpose, whatever, doesn't matter. It's happened now. Yeah, you know. Then what do I get? What do I get? I get put in jail. Involuntary manslaughter.
Yeah.
Manslaughter. Well, then times that by 60,000, they're saying. We know it's a lot more, but 60,000 recorded deaths, WikiLeaks released. You know, that's an official document. 60,000 deaths, times that manslaughter by years. You know, you get 3 years, 4 years for manslaughter.
Like 600,000.
Yeah, I know. I totally understand, but they're the recorded.
Yeah, but not. I mean, that's just the deaths in that country. What about the deaths in this country? See, that's what people didn't realise. Yeah, well, of course, probably in 2001, probably a lot of people did realise, but a lot of people didn't realise that by attacking that country, we were going to suffer in this country. They didn't put two and two together.
Yeah,
people aren't using their brains because they're distracted by work.
Yeah, well, we've got an unlimited supply for war.
Yeah.
But we can't keep an adventure playground open. We can't keep an A&E open.
And these,
we can't. You know, make it viable for people to explore their education.
Those are the connections we need to keep making.